right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 293. Getting closer and closer every week to 300, and this is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get on with the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PlayStation Network, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Jake Peters at jakesaw01. As always, you can write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com, and most importantly, don't forget to share the show with your friends. Put it on your social medias, and make sure to leave comments and rate this podcast so the algorithm helps lift us so more people can find us. And as a reminder, we're a video podcast as well. You can watch our show if you prefer over on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to that. And for new and or long-time listeners, we have a Patreon. You can support our show at a $1 level, and the Patreon tier is called the one and only $1 Club. Head over to www.patreon.com/PS This Is Awesome to become a $1 patron, and you will get a free die-cut vinyl sticker in the mail and a shout-out on our show. Like our friend Michael out in California. P. Scripton has recently subscribed to our Patreon, so thank you very much. We appreciate you. It's so interesting to think, it's just really interesting to think that people in California are listening to our show. It's wild to me, actually, to think about it, but very cool. And we did have a comment from P. Scripton, and he said, it should be like prescription, sorry, is what it is. He goes, "Hey guys, I just wanted to say I love the show. I'm getting ready to start pharmacy school out here in California, hence the name prescript_N equals prescription. And I look forward to the episodes every week. Keep up the good work." We really appreciate the kind words, and we know there's others out there who are listening to us, and but you stepped up and you did the old $1 salute to us a month. So thank you for that. We do appreciate that for sure, and I have your envelope ready to send out with the sticker as of Monday morning of this week, and I threw a little bonus thing in there for you, and don't get too excited. It's not that cool, but it is kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool. If you're a fan of the show, it's kind of cool. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in. With that out of the way, Jake, how are you doing?
I'm good. I am hurting. We're talking in practice earlier because we practiced earlier for the band. I wrecked my dirt bike yesterday, so I'm a little bit sore. No major injury or anything. I'm just like bruised and stuff, so I'm a little bit sore from that. I wear all of the proper protective gear, so it's not like I broke any bones or anything. And then basically, yeah, I've been out since like 8 o'clock this morning. I've been helping someone redo like the floor in their bathroom and stuff, and so I've been doing that all day. And I mean, it's good. I don't really mind. I don't mind doing that kind of work. It's not that that's a problem or anything like that, but it is tiring, and I feel like I need a shower. But other than that, doing pretty good.
Yeah, shower sounds good. You actually, for the listeners who don't know, this room that I do the podcast in doubles as my music studio / jam space. Obviously, with all the gear behind me. Jake actually helped me do some floor work in here. He's becoming quite the floor master, I think, probably.
I don't know about master. I guess I'm just I just get suckered into it more than most people probably.
Yeah, you just have a hard time saying no. That's the problem.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I've done it a few times. I've done it probably 3 or 4 times in my own house and in houses, like in our old house and this house, and then I helped you and I helped a couple other people. So yeah, I guess it's something that I've just done enough of that I'm not going to sit here and claim that I can do anything super complicated, but
right. You're not gun shy though.
It's not like to be fair, it's not like I'm laying, hardwood floor or anything like that. This is like all, laminate flooring and stuff that's a little bit more user friendly. But It's a bathroom, so we had to like take the toilet off, and you have to cut your flooring around all the fixtures and make sure everything's centered in the room, and none of your tiles are like off center or anything like that.
Right.
And so it takes a little bit of thought, but yeah, a friend of Sarah's is opening her own business, and she asked me to save some money. She asked if I could help her with some of the flooring, and I said, yeah, sure.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Very good.
I'm excited for her business. I hope her flooring doesn't, explode or something.
And then what you need
doesn't leak.
Yeah, what you need to do in your taxes this year is claim that as a donation. That you've donated your time. And what would you value your services at, Jake? And just write that off.
Of $66 or $7 million an hour,
probably
something like that.
I mean,
I should get a lot of money back this year.
Can't put a price on heart.
That's exactly right.
But dude, I've had a pretty good weekend. It's been interesting. I had a gig Friday and I played solo out at the Lake Resort, and they never seem to know what's going on out there. The two guys that kind of Jake was the other Jake Lake Jake was in Alaska, and then his brother Nick moved to Canada, and these are normally my contacts for gigs there. And then I had heard from another fellow musician who just played there a week or two ago that their house sound system was like not working the way it should, and speakers were crackling and stuff. And then I took all my gear up there, which I didn't want to do, but then I did. And then I talked to this sweet person named Maria, who's always been super helpful. And she's like, "Oh, you brought your stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, I heard that the sound system." And she goes, "As far as I know, it's working." And I'm like, "Man, I don't know." And when you can't go into a gig not knowing, so I had my stuff set up and I just used my stuff. And then Saturday, last night, I played at Voodoo Brewery in Erie and did a solo set. There was an Erie band, some young guys named Do Not Call List. They opened things up, and my buddy Matt put the show on, and then I played second and played my acoustic stuff. And then there was a band that was kind of bigger back in the day called Rookie of the Year, and they played just the singer, really, Ryan, who does vocals and plays guitar for them, and then his friend Danny came out and supported him on electric guitar. And they did like a duo thing. And Ryan's from like the Raleigh area, and then Danny's down in Pittsburgh. But it's interesting, man, how the scene works, because, Matt was telling me that those guys were really stoked that I was on the bill. And I'm trying to I was like, yeah, Matt's just trying to be nice, And I took the gig pro bono. I wasn't taking any money for this one, because those guys cost a bit of money. They were from like a band that had like a Billboard chart hit. I mean, so he was bringing them to Erie. So I was like, well, yeah, that'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Maybe I'll sell some merch, or I'll at least get a couple free drinks or something. Then I realized it was Voodoo, so I only got one free drink. But needless to say, I played. And that's not a dig on Matt, man. I'm trying to help him. He's trying to get his promotion thing up off the ground and get some big bands into Erie. So anything I can do to help is good. And those other guys drove quite a ways to get out there to the show. But I'm sitting there, and I saw Danny outside, and he came up and gave me a hug. And he's like, "Man, it's been so long since I've seen you." And I was like, "Well, yeah, it's been a while." Just kind of, I knew his face, but I couldn't quite put it together. And he reminded me that he played in a band called Me Against Me, who played at the Hangout with my old band Signal Home, and he was like a big fan and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is really kind of cool, because I'm like opening for these guys, and they've got a lot of cred like in the scene or whatever. Like they just did a tour with Spitalfield, and Bob Nana from Braid was on that. He did a couple shows. He's friends with, they're both Chicago bands, those two, and Bob knows those guys, and they were out. Long story short, Ryan came up and gave me a big hug as well. And I'm like, all right, cool. I guess these guys like respect Mr. Oakman. I felt like such an old guy, my beard, my gray beard, and my freaking just felt kind of try hard going out there. But I'm glad that I did it. And those guys were super cool. And they mentioned that they might want to take me out on a run at some point to open for them, to support for them. And I was like, dude, 100%. Just you name when and where, and I'll take my acoustic and play to your crowd for sure. Because they draw people, and that would be really cool. So anyways, there was a lot of love last night. It was a really enjoyable set. I sold quite a few vinyl records, which normally, it's been out for a year and a half, 2-3 years even maybe now. I don't usually sell them. It shows usually people who want them already have them. So that tells me I got in front of new people. So that was good, man. It was a good time. It was a really good time. So I did that Saturday, and then I borrowed Nate from the Flood, brought his coping saw up. Just a little handsaw, but I'm still working on this threshold for my bathroom. I had to cut these notches out of it and stuff. And then you know what's weird, and then we'll get to video game stuff, is did you know, like, so in 2017, we pulled all our carpet, rented a belt sander. If you tuned into the podcast, you'll probably hear me talking about it way back then. And then it was kind of a pain, and then we re-stained our floors. And so I had this big gallon empty bucket of the stain because I saved it, because when you go to Sherwin-Williams, they have they mix their own stain, and you can get stuff to match. Now I know they say it's really just a matter of preference and taste, but they say when you install thresholds, it should be slightly different color than the floor you're standing on, so that your eye recognizes it when you're transitioning to a higher floor and you don't trip on it because it's a different color and you can see it. If it blends right in with the floor, they say that you can actually trip on it easier, which makes complete sense. Anyways, we're throwing caution to the wind. I'm trying to get the exact same stain. So I take the gallon bucket to Sherwin-Williams. They close at 4. I'm there at like 3:45. I'm like, this will be like the easiest thing for these guys to do. And sorry, Jake had to take an important call. But it's like the easiest thing for these guys to do. So what I did was I took this bucket in, and I go, yo, dude, I know you guys close right at 4 o'clock. Do you have to go?
Just sorry to interrupt you real quick. I'll be back just in like 2 seconds. I have to run to the door real quick.
All right, no problem. Jake locked his wife out, apparently, which is hilarious. So I kind of want to hear Jake's feedback on the story. So I'm going to pause the story real quick, and that's probably going to, he's probably not stoked about it, but just wait till you guys hear the rest of the story, because it's weird how government can regulate something in one area but have it not be regulated in another area. And it's weird, some of the things that they regulate, because here I thought I was a genius, because they have, when you go get stuff mixed at Sherwin-Williams, they put like these little stickers on them, and it's like the exact ratio they use so that you can create that color at any point for the rest of your life. This is the secret. This is the cheat code to get this exact color, right? So I have the bucket in hand. We're coming on. They're closing at 4, so I go in and I go, yo, dude, I have the bucket. I'm sorry it's so late, but I think this is going to be easy. I don't even want a gallon. I just want they're running a sale, 30% off of all stains. I just want a little quart of this stain. And he puts it up on the table and he sizes it up and he goes, And I'm like, well, the sticker's right on top, so it has like the mix information right there, so it shouldn't be a problem. And he goes, you bought this from us in 2017. State of Pennsylvania doesn't permit us to sell oil-based stains and mix them ourselves like this anymore in these big buckets. And so some of the ingredients that we use to make this, we don't have any longer. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, because I'm like, it's on your website. And he goes, well, we're like national, Sherwin-Williams. He goes, but PA, we can't, if you order this online, they wouldn't be able to sell it to you. And I'm like, this is so fucking weird. And I'm like, well, I want a matching stain. He goes, well, you have 2 options. He goes, and I'm like, and he like texted his boss and shut, like he's trying to close the office in 10 minutes, right? And I'm just like, dude, I didn't mean to cause a problem here. Like, I just figured you guys could just whip it together and we'd be done, close the deal. And he goes, well, here's what we can do. And he goes, we have this stain match program because of this, that if you bring in a piece of the wood that you're going to be staining and you bring in a piece of the wood that you want it to look like, we will take a few days and try to dial it in. And he goes, we prefer you bring in a piece of the wood you're actually going to stain because different woods take stain differently. He goes, but that service is at a premium and it costs a little bit of money. He goes, the other option is, and he walks me back where all like the Minwax stains are, the pre-made shit. He goes, we have all this pre-made stuff, and he's like, and I can actually make Must have been something with what they were doing to make stains. But he goes, and I can do custom colors with the Minwax, and I'm thinking, why can't you just do this armoire hickory color that I had? And I was like, dude, this espresso color looks close enough. Let's just do that. Do you have that here? And he's like, yeah, I have it here. And I was like, how much is a quart? And it was like, on sale, it was like $9. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So did that. I used Nate's coping saw. My threshold is ready. The stain's drying. But how weird that like stuff like that is regulated. Why would they not permit them to do this?
Dude, I honestly think that sometimes the state of Pennsylvania, the people that govern our state, that are in our state Congress and stuff, or whatever you want to call it, like
whatever that shit's
I literally
called.
think that they just like make up fucking rules to justify their jobs because our taxes are so high here. I'm all about environmental protection and all this type of shit, but it's like I had something happen to me a few years ago at the pen with PennDOT.
Yeah.
Where like I've for a long time I've purchased cars in Ohio, and then like come back to PA. You do the registration
title
or whatever,
transfer, right? And
you get you get your plate and all that, and you pay your tax or whatever you got to do. And like the last time that I did it, it was like, oh, where there was this rule change. Now you have to have the title in hand to do it. And it's like, well, all vehicles are basically financed now unless you have the money to pay cash for them.
Right.
And they don't give you the title. It goes to the fucking lender.
Goes to the lender, so you don't have it in hand.
So basically now there's this whole rigmarole that the notary has to like send like a paper letter to the fucking lender to request that they send the title to the notary so that you can just sign it. And then after that, then they just send the title right back to the fucking lender so that they can give you your license plate. And it's like this shit with the oil-based stains and stuff. And it's like,
did you know that about the oil-based stains? Did you know that?
No, I didn't. But it's like one of these things where it's like they probably had some grand idea that they're like saving the environment or something, but really like the people that are the smallest offenders are the ones that are impacted the most by it. And like these companies that are probably just dumping fucking contaminants into the wilderness probably aren't going to be affected by it at all. But Sherwin-Williams down the street can't sell you a quart of fucking stain because the government decided that they're not allowed to mix oil-based stains in the freaking building.
I just looked it up.
It's so silly.
So there was like some sort of rule supply. This is all 2005 shit though. But like maybe it just took that long. I can't believe it took like. But anyways, the first thing that came up was that new rules aimed at curbing ozone air pollution, and it says that Northern Virginia, this is a fucking state. Northern Virginia, Washington D.C., Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New York. There's new rules aimed at keeping those states being able to have vendors sell gallon-sized containers of oil-based paint and stain. And so they have to sell out of their existing stock. So they probably, I don't know, man. It's really bizarre. I didn't really 100% pick up what the dude was putting down, but he did say it was because of legislation. So, and it doesn't.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that sucks about it. Just regardless of like all the bullshit.
Yeah.
The thing that sucks is that the oil-based stuff works so much better.
It's amazing.
Than the poly-based stuff.
There's a reason why it exists.
Like, yes, I get it. It stinks. You got to open your windows. Blah 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 blah. There's probably something wrong with the air whenever you use it. I have no idea. But dude, it's unbelievable how much better it is.
It goes on like butter, dude. It cleans up pretty easy.
Dude, and it just like. You don't have to worry about it like peeling or chipping or any of that weird shit that happens with poly. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, it brings out all the
oil based for life,
dude. Anyways, I love the smell of it, dude. I absolutely love it. But I don't need to talk anymore. But that was my weekend in a nutshell. So
I do have one fucking comment though, and
Yeah.
it's just because I always have to bust your balls about this. You know, a coping saw is like $5 at Home Depot.
No,
You
dude,
can just
I've
go
never had to buy one. I know what I knew what they were,
but you can have one in your arsenal now if you just go fucking buy it when you need it.
Yeah, that is true.
Like a big boy.
Dude, but like here's the thing. I'm never going to need it ever again.
You probably cost Nate $5 to have him come over and borrow your the coping saw.
Well, my first thought
just went there.
Dude, my first thought was
you're going to tell me that you're never going to do trim ever again the rest of your life.
I don't know. Probably not a threshold where you got to make fucking finite special cuts. My father and I share tools all the time. Here's more of that story. Both he and my mother have COVID right now. So I wasn't comfortable going over there and borrowing shit. And he does have a jigsaw, and I thought about just using that. And I told Nate, I said, hey, I'll just use a jigsaw. Do you have a jigsaw? And he's like, dude, I'll do you one better. I've got a coping saw. I think that'd be perfect. And I'm like, okay. I was like, you don't have to bring it over if it's an extra trip. And he goes, no, dude. He goes, I have all my shit over there. He goes, well, it's just sitting around. You can borrow it. So like he was like excited to lend it to me, but like it wasn't that I wouldn't go buy one. He suggested the coping, and if I would have thought of it, I would have just went and bought one because I didn't know they were that cheap. But anyways, I digress. There's more to the story always. But it's fine. You can bust my balls all you want. Let me see here. Yeah. All right. So all that happened. All right. So the first thing we do is we get into, I think we talk about games that we're playing next. So, yeah, we're going to talk about games that we're playing next on the podcast. And we are well into this bad boy. And the interesting thing is that I did, Jake, at your recommendation, I powered up and plus essentials, whatever it is. I never know what the fuck it's called. Plus the second tier. What is it? It's PS Plus Essentials, PS Plus
Extra,
yes.
and Premium.
So Extra has the Ascent, which is kind of like and I always thought this was like a turn-based, dude. And you corrected me on that on our text messages. But it's fun. I'm pretty far. It's kind of tough. But single player, it's kind of tough. But I think it'd be fun to roll around with another person in that game.
It's pretty legit. I wonder if they balanced it because I played it when it first came out, and they had you like there'd be like a quest where you're going from like A to B. You have to like go from like the town to this place to get to a quest, and you have to like go through fucking mobs of enemies that are way harder that way above your level.
No, it's still that way.
Okay, you didn't have any problems with like the loading and stuff, did you?
It took a little longer than I thought it was going to take because you were like, dude, it takes forever. And I was like,
but it's not like 8 minutes.
No, not even close.
Okay. Because I timed it once, and for me to like with the original Xbox One S, so not the last generation, with the regular hard drive, it cost I think it took 8 minutes just to load the title screen.
That's wild.
So,
no, it's probably like 45 seconds to a minute.
That's not bad.
No.
I mean, it's still not great, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
But I do think that the game is cool, man. I love the aesthetic of it, and I love the way that it plays. I do think it does have some balance issues that kind of keep it from being like truly amazing. But it is really cool.
I'm surprised there aren't more games like this style. Like the art is really nice. And it's a really big world, and it's fun. Even like the cutscenes are kind of cool. They're all voice acted and stuff, but not by your character, but by the NPCs. Like the cutscenes, it's not just text. There are some text. It's a cyberpunk kind of like. It's not a new game, but it's kind of got a cyberpunk theme to it. Right now, I'm a little disappointed in the variants of weapons available. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of different options for weapons, but there is like a skill tree for your character and definitely different armor that changes your appearance and stuff. So I've been playing that. PGA 2K23 is also a PS Plus. What the fuck is it? Premium? No. What is it? Extra. Why can't? That's such a bad word for it. PS Plus Extra, and I posted a video, dude. I had like maybe like a 200-yard eagle. It was awesome. It's on our YouTube channel. And it's weird because I used like the share thing. I recorded the video and uploaded it to YouTube that way. And One Black Talon had written in, and he goes, "Is this an eagle?" And I was like, I think it was a par 4. So he's showing off a little bit of his golf knowledge there. But yeah, if it was a par 4, I made it on my second shot. That would make it an eagle. Now, it definitely wasn't a par 3. That would have just been a birdie. And if it was a par 5, it would have been an albatross, which would have been unheard of. So I'm pretty sure it was an eagle. But so I've been playing that. But back to when I uploaded it, it's weird because the colors seem washed out on the upload compared to how the game looked in real life.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. It literally looks like you have the brightness turned up to the max.
I don't know why it uploaded like that. It didn't look like that when I played it, but it's a hell of a shot.
It's so strange.
Yeah, it was a hell of a shot. I had to share it. And then I'm still working on the Walking Dead Definitive series. Those uploads have been great. I've gone through season 2, episode 3. We're going into season 2, episode 4, and I believe we have a season 2, episode 5, and then we'll put that season to rest. So as time permits, I'll be doing that. I was very tempted, Jake, on buying Baldur's Gate 3. My brother purchased it. He kept sending me this picture of a character that was like a dwarf, but his character looked really fucking awkward. And I didn't know if he thought the person looked funny or if he was like, "Here's my character." So I didn't know how to respond. I wanted to be like, "Dude, that character looks fucked up." So I was like, "Dude, why do you keep sending me that picture?" He goes, "Oh, I'm playing a dwarf class. I never do dwarf classes." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, he looks cool. He looks a little weird though." But man, I really want to get that game, but I haven't because I want to do the new Final Fantasy game. Now I've got Baldur's Gate 3. I'm watching videos of people playing the Star game, Starfield, and that game looks cool to me. I'll never get to play it, though, unless I buy an Xbox, which I probably won't do. I wouldn't buy an Xbox just for one game. But
yeah, I mean, you would need either that or a PC. Yeah. Who knows, man? Maybe when I'm done playing it, if I'm feeling
generous,
I can let you borrow my Xbox and you can play it.
Yeah. You did buy it? Did you start it? What are you playing, Jake?
I did start it. Yeah. So I've been playing Starfield. When did I start that? So actually, I started playing. We might have talked about this already last week. We did, yes. So I was playing Sea of Stars. And then Wednesday rolled around and I started Starfield. So Sea of Stars, no more things to say about that. It's still really cool. I still want to get back to it at some point. I don't know when I will.
Yeah.
But that's like the type of game that would be perfect for something like that PlayStation Portal, where like I could just remote into my PlayStation and play it in bed or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's just like the perfect type of game for that. Or like if I could play it on the Switch or a Vita or something. But I got sorry, my brain just fucking imploded. I got Starfield and I started playing it. I feel like the game literally just started, even though I'm 6 hours into it.
Wow.
So I don't know what the fuck's going on still. Like, it's very Bethesda in that way, though. Like the game, it's just like it's a slow build, and you really don't kind of fully get your bearings to like run around and do what you want to do until quite a bit into it. But I've heard specifically Starfield, unlike the other Bethesda games, they tell you that it's important in this one to just kind of mainline the game a little bit for a while, and because it like opens everything up for you, and then the story kind of opens up and it kind of lends you to kind of explore a little bit more or whatever. But I am enjoying it. I'm struggling with the shooting controls on it. It's just I'm almost starting to think that this is like an Xbox thing. But like I've played,
never feels good.
I know, but I've played first-person shooters on Xbox before that feel good. So it's not like, it's impossible. I actually went out and bought a dongle to plug into my Xbox that lets me use my DualSense controller with it. So I'm just using my fucking DualSense on my Xbox as opposed to my Xbox controller.
Is it better with the DualSense?
It, not really. I mean, it's like the controller feels nicer in my hand because that's what I'm used to. The DualSense is just a nicer controller than the base Xbox controller, but I like the shooting doesn't feel any better or anything. And obviously, you know, doing that, you don't get any of like the HD rumble or like the haptics or anything, or like the triggers or any of that. You still get basic rumble and like all the other buttons work and all of that. But yeah, it's interesting though. I think that like I don't remember what the name is of this little dongle thing I bought. It's like a Broke Wingman XB or something like that. It's too expensive in my opinion for what it is, but it's less than another controller. So because I was kind of thinking like, well, maybe the reason why I've been struggling so much with shooting on Xbox is maybe my controller has something wrong with it. But I was like, I don't want to buy another fucking controller and then have it be the problem. So I was like, well, I'll just buy this dongle thing, because then if I want to, I can just use my PlayStation controller on this console, or I can use it to like, you can actually use it on a PC too. Like if I want to use my PlayStation controller on my PC, I can do that. Or because I don't know if you know this, but you can use a DualSense natively on PC, but you need to either plug it in or have a Bluetooth dongle to use it wirelessly. Not that I ever really do this with my PC, but it's a possibility if I want to use it. I guess I'm kind of getting in the weeds, like away from Starfield. It's cool. I love the problem is that where I'm at right now, I don't feel like I have anything of value to say about it, because it's like, it feels like I just booted up the game. So, you know, you start out and you do this like initial mission that introduces you to the Constellation group. You get to create your character and all that. And you set up their background and everything. I do like the way they do this interesting mechanic with the skill system. I don't know if you remember, like in Fallout 4, they had the special system where you had like special was an acronym, and like SPE, they were all skill trees, and you could put like I don't remember what they stood for, but you could put like skill points in every one of them. Well, the way that it works in Starfield is that you can put a skill point to like unlock. I don't know how I feel about this. It's like you can put a skill point to like unlock the potential for a skill, but then you actually have to do the thing to like level up that skill. So like, for example, like pistol mastery or something like that. You can put a skill point in it and it'll give you 10% more pistol damage. But then in order to unlock the ability to put a skill point in the second tier of it, you have to kill so many people with a pistol. Like there are these like in order to unlock the next level of all of
mini
these skill
achievements
things,
or something.
But it's kind of cool because it's not just like dumping skill points in to make you better. You actually have to use those things. It's almost like it's like a mix of like the special stuff to like the old Morrowind stuff. If you've ever played the really old Elder Scrolls game, where your athletics, which was one of your attributes, would level up if you just ran around and jumped a bunch. If you run and jump and run and jump and run and jump, your athletic skill would just like increase, because it was organic in the way that it would give you up. You would have to use things to update your skills. Right. And like Skyrim, you had to kill things with one-handed weapons for your one-handed weapon ability to increase. And so what this did is that whenever they went to Fallout 4, they kind of switched it over to more of a skill point system where you just dump it into skill trees. And in this one, they kind of merged the two, where it's like, yeah, you dump in a skill point, but then to unlock the next level, you have to do the thing to like make it seem like you're actually getting better at shooting a pistol.
No, that's cool.
What I mean?
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
I like that.
But I like I love the space environment. I love the ships. It seems like the character interactions are really cool. It seems like they're a lot deeper than in previous Bethesda games. Like, for example, you'll be you'll if you like jump off of a ledge or something and you get like falling damage or whatever, the AI character will make some comment about how stupid you are for doing that. Like, or like they'll remember things that you've said, and in later conversations it'll come up, and they'll like integrate that into the conversations that you're having. So it's very much a Bethesda style RPG, but they took what they're good at and they just like made everything way better, like way more in depth. The graphics are a little bit better. They're still not amazing, but with the depth of these games, I don't think anybody's really expecting the graphics to be that great. But the customization of the game is really cool. There are a lot of systems in it that I don't even know what the fuck they are. Like, there are all these research and like upgrade systems, like shipbuilding stuff I haven't even gotten into, like mining, where you can like mine minerals and like all this stuff. Haven't even gotten into that. Every planet you land on is like, each planet I think is like almost the size of a Fallout map. So you can like run around and infinitely be just all over the place. But to be fair, they're not jam-packed full of shit like Fallout is, for example.
Yeah.
Most of these places are barren. They're empty, but you can like mine minerals or you can find secret caves. But occasionally you'll come across something like like an abandoned laboratory, or like a downed ship or something that you can steal stuff off of, or you'll encounter some pirates or
They've probably hidden a ton of shit in this game. Secrets.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying it so far. I don't have a whole lot really.
That's fun.
I don't know what really to say. I mean, I'll keep you guys updated, because chances are I'll be playing this game for fucking ever. Yeah. So just because that's just the way the Bethesda games work for me.
If you're new to the podcast, last episode we talked how we're obviously cognizant that we're a PlayStation podcast, but at the same time we understand the gravity, pun intended, of STARFIELD, and what a big deal it is. It's one of the first exclusives available only on Xbox. It's the first Bethesda exclusive to Microsoft, to Xbox, and this is the first time as a Sony gamer, as a PlayStation gamer, I feel like I'm missing out on something. And so it's cool to hear you talk about it and your experience. And to be clear to the audience, dude, I'm not even anti-Microsoft or anti-Xbox. Like, here's the deal. Like, this controller is the reason I've stuck, not this one per se, but I've stuck with, it's just like, once you're kind of in that ecosystem, and like, I'm a single player, like story driven kind of person, gamer. Like, Sony has more first party games that attract me to their world. I can't justify having multiple consoles in my house. Man, I don't have enough time to play the games on PlayStation I want to play. But like, I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, the only reason why I have an Xbox is because the Series S is like $300.
Yeah.
So, and you could probably even find a used one for cheaper than that if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, and it wasn't for, dude, since I bought my Series S, I have not purchased a single game for Xbox.
Yeah, you just have the Games Pass.
I just have Game Pass, and I've played a ton of games on there, and I think it's a great value. And Sony with PS Plus Extra offers something similar. I do think that Game Pass still has the better value, especially with all the Microsoft first party stuff on it. But my preference is with PlayStation. Honestly, I don't like playing my Xbox, but I like it because of the value of Game Pass, and I like the games that I can play on it. And I don't mind the controller, but I don't like having to be on a different console. None of my trophies are there. The fucking UI for Xbox is horrible. I don't understand why anybody is okay with it. It's literally like Windows 8 freaking like tiles.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's
like a mess. I don't know, man. But
I appreciate
this
your
isn't
input
like a
on the game.
This isn't a bash on Xbox podcast either. I do like playing games on there. I wish that Starfield was on PlayStation so that more people could experience it. But if it makes you feel any better, I know you've kind of him-hawed about it. Baldur's
Gate.
Baldur's Gate is widely considered the better game. Yeah. So, but there's a different experience there, right? You know, that's a turn-based kind of RPG, whereas Elder Scrolls is more immersive, first person. I got a question for you. When you play Fallout and all that, do you play in first or third person?
I got to think about that question. I think I play in first person.
When you play Fallout, you play in first person.
Yeah, because I think it looks so janky in the third person.
So, I agree with you. I personally think these games are meant to be played in first person.
Yeah.
But literally so many people play them in third person. Like they added that shit in Skyrim, and then they carried it over to Fallout 4, and now they have it in Starfield. To be fair, it defaults to first person. But it's just a push of a button switches you over to third person.
Yeah.
And of the 3 games, this one is the best looking in third person. Mm-hmm. But there's like a sense of wonder and a sense of like immersion that is just lost.
Oh yeah, for
when
sure.
It's in third person.
It's too tight.
So I don't get it.
The Bethesda third person is not. It doesn't handle like a third person action adventure.
Well, they do in Starfield. They have 2 different third person perspectives. They have a close up and a backed out third person. Okay. So it does look better now. I will fully admit it, but I think that there is a level of immersion that is just lost whenever you switch over to third person.
Dude, for sure.
And it's like I get like you want to see the gear you're putting on and all this stuff, and it's like I don't give a fuck about that. Yeah. I want to be like in the zone, you know?
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Well, shit, man. It's nice to know that you're playing that. And listeners, you know, if you didn't want to hear about an Xbox exclusive on this podcast, I apologize. But again, we told you why we're doing it because it's important. Anyways, we are going to move on to listener feedback and questions. You can write into the show on our Patreon site, which is how we prefer you to do so. If you have a buck to spare, do it that way, please. If you don't, keep writing us on our YouTube channel or send us an email at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. I already talked about One Black Talon commenting on my Eagle. And then Big Box returns. Big Box is back. And this is what Big Box has to say, Jake. P.S. This is awesome, bros. I returned from the fires of Rubicon feeling totally humiliated. I bought Armored Core 6 on day 1. I read the reviews. I watched a bunch of gameplay. I liked everything I saw. Yet, I think the game sucks. It feels like a mid-PS2 game with modern graphics, dumb AI, loopy boss battles, awful level design. Question. When was the last time you were excited about a game and immediately felt ripped off after playing it for a few hours? Any suggestions on how I get this to never happen again? Take care, guys. Wednesday shows work great too. So thank you for the support on the switch to being a Wednesday podcast. My first input on this, games that I'm really excited about, and we touched briefly on this last week, but immediately ripped off after playing. And this is a little bit different, is like every G.I. Joe video game. Like I go in my heart of hearts, like this isn't going to suck. And then every time, it doesn't even take a couple hours. It's like 10 minutes and I'm like, this is just straight jank garbage. But I should know better. As far as like an actual game that I, don't trick myself into thinking it could be good, that's a really good question, man. I don't know the last time I purchased a game and was like, felt really disappointed by it. I will say that I felt extremely ripped off by the game mechanic in Aliens Dark Descent that disallowed me from beating it on my playthrough. And I never really went back to that game. And maybe that's user error, but it just feels like such an antiquated game design thing that happened, and like it wasn't outwardly advertised that like there's actually a clock that starts to finish the game. And if you can't beat the clock, they don't let you get to the end of the game and beat it. And I felt completely ripped off by it. I get that that's part of the difficulty of that game, but like I didn't know that going in. If I would have known that that was actually a thing, I probably would not have bought in that game. Because there's nothing I dislike more in video games than racing against a clock. It just sets my nerves on fire. It gives me an anxiety. And then like when you dump as much time into a game that I did, and there's no feasible way to actually beat it because you've dicked around too much, like, I don't know, like healing your characters so that you can succeed, and then you find out that like the time was taken the whole time. Dude, I would say that was the last time, because I was really, really excited about the game because it was, number one, turn-based. Number two, it was set in the aliens world, which is really, really fucking dope. In fact, I have a little alien little guy getting stabbed by the xenomorph here. I'm kind of a fan of that franchise, and I was really stoked on the game, especially since I didn't get the latest XCOM game because it never came. The Chimera Squad never came to the console. So I was jonesing for this style of game, and then I got it, and I just felt completely ripped off. But I don't know how you get over that. I think that you temper yourself. You watch. I mean, it's hard because a lot of Let's Plays and reviews can get spoilery. So like if you don't want to know anything about it and you just want to trust the developer, and you're a big Souls person, so you were kind of trusting the developer, I believe. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. I would say just don't pull the trigger so quick on a game. Wait a little bit, see what people are saying. But I think the reviews have been generally pretty positive for Armored Core 6. So I don't know. That's where the trouble lies. Maybe is it like the majority of people kind of, from what I understand, kind of enjoyed it. And I don't know if that's just like a bandwagon of like, oh, cool, people like this game, so I need to like it too, or like if it actually is a good game. It seems like you didn't enjoy it. But Jake, what do you think about this question?
So I have two recent semi-recent examples, I guess, that I can say. But I think Armored Core is one of those games that it hasn't been out for so long. I do wonder what Big Box's history is with Armored Core, because my understanding is that this is very much an Armored Core sequel. Like the game is very much an Armored Core game. So it's entirely possible that he got, I don't want to say the wrong idea about the game, but maybe he wasn't, the reviews and the pre-launch information didn't exactly portray what an Armored Core game is, aside from like the visuals of what was going on. And I thought the game looked cool or whatever, and then when I started watching reviews and stuff about how the game plays, I knew that it wasn't going to be for me. It's one of those games that you kind of have to master in terms of like what loadouts you want to use for. It's not like a Souls game where you have to like just like get good so much as like you just have to have the right gear and equip the right gear on your mech to be able to defeat the specific boss and all that kind of stuff. And I think whenever he says like, what does he say? He said that loopy boss battles. I think that's part of the game, right? Is that like that's one of the reasons people like it, is because the boss battles are loopy in that it's designed for you to like learn it and figure out the patterns so that you can develop your mech to be able to do it. But I'm literally pulling fistfuls of this out of my butt because I have no idea what an Armored Core game is supposed to be. But when you look at it and you say that it looks like it's like a PS2 game. It plays like a PS2 game or whatever. I kind of understand that, but that's sort of what a lot of these Japanese action games are like. Like, I don't know if you've ever played something like, for example, a great game, but I would say has a similar vibe to it is Nier Automata. That game, when you play it, feels kind of like a PS2 game, but it's got modern graphics and everything about the game it's not very old. Obviously, it was a PS4 game or whatever. I think there's just something about like Japanese style and Japanese gameplay in the action genre that just has that is this very like tradition. Let's call it like traditional design philosophy that when you're like in the West and you're like, oh well, I just played The Last of Us Part 2, or I just played Spider-Man. This like doesn't really jive anymore with you because it's not a Western aesthetic. But you could be right. It could be just bad. But it seems like it's relatively positively received as far as critics go. So I don't have really much of an answer for you about Armored Core. But I think that Fred's right in that if you sometimes this just takes research, and sometimes, in my opinion, it pays to not, unless you are so severely worried about spoilers that you don't want to even risk seeing anything, it pays to sit on a game for a little bit before you buy it. Wait a week, wait 2 weeks, because you're going to see the critical reviews of people that are in the echo chamber. But then eventually you're going to start seeing pop-ups of everybody else that's played it post-launch and all of their comments about it. About like, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, I do like this, I do like that. And these conversations might inform your taste more than what some reviewer says about how the game plays. But it's kind of one of those things that's really hard to avoid, and you kind of have to know yourself a little bit.
I think also, let me interject real quick. I think like a lot of this comes, there's so many reviewers and different quote unquote YouTube personalities out there. And like, if you can find a few out there that that play games a little more frequently, current games more frequently than Jake and I do, that have similar opinions about things that you do as far as games go, like interests, they say stuff that resonates, like, oh yeah, I agree with that, right? Yeah, you generally agree with the things they have to say about games that you've played and your experience with games. Dial those people in, and then when a new game like this comes out, hopefully they have something to say about it. So like, because game reviews are really their opinions. They're not fact, right? So they're not things that are 100% true. Like, for example, in your critique of the game, you say it feels like a mid PS2 game with modern graphics. Well, it does to you, but maybe to someone else it doesn't. And that's where reviews get real tricky. And it's like, you got to find somebody who has, and you seem like a really smart person, man. And I appreciate the comment. But like, what I try to do is I try to find reviewers or reviews, even like, you can't just go based on like a website like Push Square or IGN or wherever, Gamatsu or whatever, and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to agree with all of their game reviews because I trust this source, because they have different writers. So like, if you really want to get into the minutia of it, just find a writer who does game reviews that you tend to agree with and just follow them.
Or YouTuber or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. That helps.
But dude, you're gonna get bit sometimes.
It's gonna happen.
I mean, that's just kind of the nature of things. Like I have two examples of even like of games over the past couple generations that have really been sort of frustrating. A more recent one was Atomic Heart. That game looked so awesome going up to launch, and then after it came out, I was just kind of meh on it. It just was not super great.
Yeah.
similar. It wasn't bad.
It's a good example.
Just like I'm sure that Big Box is being hyperbolic when he says this game sucks. Like, it probably doesn't suck. It just probably doesn't vibe with
right
him,
now. He's like, no, this game fucking sucks, guys. You guys got to play this. This thing's garbage.
So I'm sure it objectively doesn't suck. But the other game that I was thinking of was The Order 1886.
Oh, man.
Where that game had so much promise and looked so awesome coming up to launch. And then it came out and it just was not there.
It just wasn't it. What we thought we were getting.
Another good example is No Man's Sky, although I kind of give it a pass because it's had such a resurgence and such a redemption story that it's like this amazing game that is indistinguishable from what it was when it first launched.
Right.
And so I kind of give that one a little bit of a pass. But yeah, there are games that happen from time to time, and unfortunately these games often end up being $60, $70 experiences. So that's why nowadays there are very few games that I will pre-order or buy at launch unless it's something that like I know is going to be great out of the box. Like, for example, assuming I'm done with Starfield in time, I know that Spider-Man 2 is going to be a great game. I don't even have I would literally bet my fucking house on the fact that it's going to be a great game. Is it going to be a 10 out of 10? Probably not. Is it going to be a 7 out of 10? Probably not. But I would guarantee you that it's going to be in that 8 to 9, 9.5 kind of range. And that's just because assuming, it doesn't get tanked on Metacritic because whatever the fuck is going on.
Oh, it will.
Right now. I don't
Someone
I
will
don't
say
even
some shit
understand
about it. Yeah.
But
backlash, dude.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we've been talking about this for a while, but basically what it boils down to is that yes, it's happened to all of us and it will probably continue to happen to us. The nice thing about these subscription services that we have now is that there is zero risk for stuff like this, other than the fact that you're bummed out that the game kind of sucked. But like, for example, Sea of Stars, I like those kinds of games, but there was no way I was going to try that game out at full price right off the bat if it wasn't on PS Plus Extra. But because it was on Extra, I downloaded it the day it came out and started playing it. And it's great. And I hope to get back to it someday so I can finish it because it is really cool. But, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I will say this. There's no shame, Big Box, in a misjudged game. We've all been there, and we're here to pick you back up, sir. Come back to the ranks, and we'll do better next time. But speaking of Armored Core, real quick, there was a Digital Foundry YouTube review kind of the tech for Armored Core. FromSoft apparently have a difficulty locking in 60 frames per second in their games, and this is no different. There's 3 different modes. There's a performance mode which utilizes dynamic resolution to try to keep that frame rate as steady as possible, and then there are 2 other modes which are ray trace mode and quality mode. And Digital Foundry kind of came out and like, yeah, they can't hold 60 on any of these modes. There's still some issues with that. Speaking of Armored Core, but let's talk about the news. Every episode of PS This Is Awesome, we comb over the news out there, and we have a quick little, 1-2 minute discussion about each of these points. First one. Goodbye Volcano High. This game was teased a long time ago. It apparently is out now, and it's been getting really decent reviews. It has an 8 out of 10 on Push Square, which I think is actually kind of surprising. And then on OpenCritic, it's got a 73, which is 20% higher than what the Ascent has, which I'm currently playing and enjoying. Apples and oranges, I know. But there's something about fucking Goodbye Volcano High. I was hoping it was going to be free for us. It's not. There's no way this game's going to sell a ton. There's no way. It's got to be coming to Plus or something down the road. Jake, what is your... Can I gauge your... Right now, the interest is probably not like super high in this game, but I mean, are you intrigued by this fucking game? Because I am.
Fuck yeah, dude. I want to play it. I know that it sounds really goofy, but like the idea of like dinosaurs, you know, being angsty in high school while they wait for the apocalypse and like being in a band or something. I don't know. It sounds fucking great.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's like, it's kind of like, Life is Strange, the first season. I loved Life is Strange, the first season. And then because it was a little bit more adolescent, a little bit more kind of love-centric and stuff, and it just kind of warms the heart a little bit. Life is Strange season 2 just got a little bit too dark for me. Like with the sibling
real
story. Yeah, it's a little bit too dark for me. And not that that's always a bad thing, but there are plenty of things in this world right now that make me want to hurt myself.
Come on.
The last thing I want to
for you.
Yeah, the last thing I want to do is, and it's the same, to be fair, like I'm just a wimp about this stuff. Like it's the same reason I don't watch dramas. Like I don't watch serious television, because after I've gotten home from a hard day of work or whatever, like I want to put on something that's going to make me laugh or something that's going to dull my brain or something like that. Like I don't want to watch, you know, basically, you know, Breaking Bad. I understand that it's like a critically acclaimed TV show or something, but I don't want to watch somebody, you know, overdose on television and the ramifications of that or whatever, you know. So like this to me seems like kind of a teen sort of end of the world kind of story, and I could be completely wrong about that. It could be totally fucked.
I think it looks neat, man.
But I think it looks great. I love the art style. I love the whole. Do you remember in the 90s? I believe it was a TGIF show called Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I do remember.
And it was like all of the like, and there was like it was like
they were like Jim Henson
effects dinosaurs, but it was like
Jim
it was
Henson
a sitcom. But everybody was a dinosaur. Like the dad worked at like fucking construction, or like worked at the mine or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Well, dude, I also think that this game it's just gonna get absolutely blown over by the Baldur's Gate shit, the Starfield shit, the fucking Spider-Man shit, the fucking Alan Wake shit. Like, I think there might, if you just take the curtain and slide it this way and kind of look. And like, man, you know, this game might be kind of good. I hope it does well. I have a feeling it's not going to, though, as far as making money. But
do you know how much it is?
I have no idea what the price point is on it now. Once you look that up, I'll start the next topic.
Okay.
In order to keep things rolling. The next news point is exactly about Spider-Man 2. And what will inevitably be the beginning of the hype train for Spider-Man 2, as if it's not already in effect. There were some really...
Sorry.
It's fine. There was some really nice screenshots, Jake, released of New York City. And they truly are stunning, especially Times Square. And I put a link here if you want to take a peek at these screenshots. Like the Times Square screenshots, oh my fucking God. This game looks beautiful. Real nice renderings of New York City. So this game's going to be... Fuck, man. It's going to be awesome.
Hey, it looks pretty good.
It looks rad.
Just have to see.
Did you find out how much that game costs?
$30.
That's not terrible.
No, I don't think it's too bad.
All right. Well, next news point, Jake. I don't know if you care about this, and I don't know that I do, but I think it matters, so I put it in here. Roblox, or Roblox, however you want to pronounce it. I think it's Roblox. At the developers conference for Roblox, they unveiled that the super popular online game is coming to PS4 and PS5 in October. According to Push Square, the game attracts 65 million players per day. This game is already available on Xbox One, and it's assumed this game will play the same way as it does on that console. It's my understanding in order to make the levels, you have to make them on a PC or on a computer, but all of the levels are playable that are available to the Roblox community to you on console. You just can't make the levels on the console. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, it's just like a Minecraft kind of thing, but I think it's more of a community where like you get into Roblox and you have an avatar, and then you find other avatars and you play games with those avatars, like almost like PlayStation Home in a weird way. But the games are like, I don't know. I don't understand the layers of this game, but 65 million players in a day is quite a few people into this game, and it's geared towards kids. Like it's more of a younger audience and probably what our podcast appeals to, or the listeners of the show. But it's nice that this is coming to PlayStation, because oftentimes either we're the first to get involved in really cool fucking shit, or we're the last. We're never like usually like in the middle. Like this seems like we're the last console, the last way for people to play this game, and it's finally happening. So that's good. Jake, what do you know about Roblox? Do you care about it?
I don't really know anything about it. I know that a long time ago, I watched Sarah's little cousins playing games on Roblox, and to me, it just seemed like this. It was really creepy to me, if I'm being completely honest. Like it was like one of these like completely open Wild West kind of online games that like seemed like it was just a bunch of it could potentially be one of those things where people are like adults are just taking advantage of children kind of thing.
I think that was why it's coming to PlayStation last, because I think Sony was concerned about this. In fact, I think
that might be true.
I think it was an article that we talked about at one point.
It could very well be, but I don't really know much about it other than it's like it's more like almost like a game builder than anything. You know what I mean? Like you can't, like I don't know that Roblox is a game, right? Roblox is a platform that games can be made on, or like you can make levels on, and people kind of share them and participate in them together. It's one of these things that just doesn't really vibe with me, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I don't really play games socially, I guess. So yeah. I don't really have a whole lot of experience with it, I suppose.
Well, dude, that's no problem at all. I thought it was an interesting thing to bring up. Next news point. As we cruise along on PS's Awesome PlayStation Podcast, it looks like E3 is now officially done, double officially. A collaborator that helps organize events like E3, REBOOT, has officially stopped their business ties with the ESA, who's the Entertainment Software Association. It's not believed that there's any bad relationships between the two entities. They just no longer in business together. So REBOOT indicated that they are no longer going to be involved in the future of E3 moving forward. So there you go. Perhaps this is the true end to an era. How do you feel about living in a world where there's no E3, Jake? Does it bother you?
No, not even a little bit. Honestly, the only thing that bothers me, because obviously we never went, so it's not like it's something that I have any personal experience with. The only thing that I miss about it is that I liked that all of the major news for the year was consolidated into one event that everybody could look forward to. Yeah. And now it's just like scattered across all of these state of plays and junk that aren't really all that. To be honest with you, I haven't seen a state of play or a showcase online that I'm just like, oh my God, it's so exciting. Yeah. Like I haven't seen any of that shit since, or I haven't reacted like that to anything since the last like major PlayStation showcase at E3. So
yeah,
that's the only thing that I miss about it. It's probably for the best that it's gone, if I'm being honest, but I don't really have much of a comment about it other than that.
I don't think it's indicative that there's an issue in the gaming industry at all. I just think that like all these developers and all of these, companies like Microsoft and Nintendo and PlayStation have found a more economically efficient way to deliver the information they want to their intended audience instead of just having it be a big free-for-all, you know. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just different. I'm a little, you're right. We never went to E3. I mean, maybe when we first started the podcast, we were like entertaining the idea, like how cool would it be if we got like fucking a way to go to E3 and do this shit and like do it for real. We are doing it for real, by the way, but like to do it like on another level. So I think there's a little bit of nostalgia with just watching and talking about E3 with you that I'll miss. But outside of that, I don't really care. I mean, I just really enjoyed the conversations and the excitement, like you said, of like, oh shit, are you watching it live tonight? You know, that kind of thing. And like, what the fuck is gonna happen? You know, but yeah, now it's just like instead of like these companies, for lack of a better phrase, blowing their load in one night, they just trickle the shit out throughout the year now. So the excitement doesn't build like you want it to. But that's all. That was an interesting news point. So let's move on to the next one, dude. The next one's kind of weird. You know, we're seeing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles resurgence. You know, that new movie came out that was all animated and Seth Rogen was involved in stuff. I think it was Seth Rogen, and it was all animated in a really cool way. And I think people said it had a lot of good things to say about it. And we got news recently that there's going to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game based around the graphic novel The Last Ronin, which I think people are kind of excited about. We got Shredder's Revenge recently, and now we get news of yet another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. And this game is coming as a sequel to the movie that just released. The game will be developed by Outright Games and will be the developer's first try at a console title. The game is scheduled to release in 2024. So it will be taking place several months after the movie, as far as the canon of the story. And it's going to pick up where the movie left off, apparently. And it's going to be a game, and they were talking about how the art style of the movie would adapt so well to a video game. So I don't know what Outright Games has done, but it is interesting to think that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles can find this fucking awesome fan base, but G.I. Joe can't. So... yeah, I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's good for the brand. I think, though, you can oversaturate. And that would be a concern of mine. Jake, any opinions on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Did you grow up with them?
Yes, but I never really watched it a ton. I always enjoyed... My big enjoyment with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the movies from the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Specifically TMNT and then Secret of the Ooze, which was the second movie. Mm-hmm. I know the third one, Turtles in Time, is not widely considered to be a great movie compared to the other two. Right. It's the one where they go back to like feudal Japan. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But those practical effect live action TMNT movies were pretty.
Jim Henson was
cool.
involved with the first one.
Was he?
Yeah.
That makes sense. But other than that, you know, every so often I'd watch the animated cartoon, one of the animated cartoons from like the
yeah.
Was it? There was one in the 90s.
Yeah,
right?
It was really good.
Or the late 80s, right?
Yeah, it was really good.
And then some of the video games I played, but
the Manhattan Project.
I wouldn't consider myself hardcore TMNT. Now, I mentioned on the show that I read The Last Ronin this year, and it's fucking awesome. So if you guys even if you don't like comics, The Last Ronin is really good. And I know that there's a game being made about that. But with regard to this particular game, I just hope that it's good, because this studio that's doing it is not proven in any capacity.
They've done games before, just not for consoles.
But nothing like Like all the games that they've done are like children's games.
Yeah,
like Paw
and
Patrol
they always
stuff like
focus
that.
on licensed games, like licensed titles.
So I'm almost wondering if this is meant to be like a kid's game, not necessarily meant to be like that goes with the movie, not necessarily meant to be like an industry shaking sort of adult focused game, but we shall see, I suppose.
Yeah, dude, you're probably right. Like they've made like I think an Ice Age game, and like I don't know what else they've made, but yeah, I am not stoked about this at all. But I grew up with the Turtles, dude. I was a little older when the Ninja Turtles came around. I was probably like 7th, 8th grade, maybe 9th. But I know like all my friends knew how to draw the Ninja Turtles. Like that was the thing. Like all my artsy friends were always drawing them. And Michelangelo was always my favorite. He was like the party turtle. And the live action were really good, man. The live action movies, the first couple, I remember them being really jaw dropping. Like, whoa. And it was weird because you were like, those aren't the Ninja Turtles. It's like you watched it and you're like, yeah, those are the Turtles, dude. Like, it's weird to take like a cartoon or like a drawn, a known, like you only identify this thing with the art that created it, you know what I mean? And like the lines and how people draw them, like they're not real. They're not, even at that point, they weren't even 3D models. And then you were going to just put these guys in these bodysuits. But like, I remember just being like, yeah, that's fucking them. That's the Turtles. That's what they would look like. Like they nailed it. It was weird. Like,
it's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. They really nailed the look. It was really weird actually to think about it. That was really a tough task.
Dude, practical effects in like the 80s and 90s were fucking on point. Like Jurassic Park and all that shit. Like, man, what happened?
Digital,
CG
dude.
ruined everything.
Yeah, it did. If you watch some of those movies where digital effects and CG started taking over, right when the transition happened, those movies, the first, tried out CG, oh God, they are a bear to watch. Like you're like, they look so bad. Like the CG and like the special effects look terrible. And like I remember in the moment them looking great, but looking back at it now, it's just like, oh my God, this is so bad looking. Interesting. I can't give an example or else I would, but I know they exist because it's happened to me recently rewatching shows. I don't know if it was like Total Recall or like what it was, but like there was maybe T2. T2 actually did a really good job. Man, what the fuck was it I watched recently? I don't even know. I think maybe the He-Man movie had some of that shit, and it was just done so terribly, dude. Like you just knew there was a green screen in the background. You knew like the lightning effects were just like really bad. Like, anyways, dude. Next news point is Sea of Stars. Jake is selling better than expected. They've sold 250,000 copies of this game, and it hasn't been out very long. Even after this game was released on PS Plus and Xbox Games Pass to free for all subscribers. It was also announced the Sea of Stars is getting DLC, as they are working on it presently. And in addition to Sea of Stars doing really well, the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters are also selling very well, with over 3 million copies sold. Things come and go, Jake. Cycles happen. What's in now was probably in 20 years ago. It's, as I have here in the notes, it's kind of like fashion in what genres of music are famous. But I'm feeling and seeing and hearing and just kind of like I feel in the air like a turn-based RPG resurgence. We got Baldur's Gate 3. The Pixel remasters are doing really well. Sea of Stars is doing really well. I think the thirst has always been there for these styles of games, but I don't know that developers recognized it. And now that they're seeing the numbers go up for these kinds of games, can we expect more of them on the forefront?
I would hope so. I mean, I don't think there's really a shortage of this type of stuff right now. I just think there's a shortage of this type of stuff that's actually really good. And, you're talking about the Pixel remasters for Final Fantasy games. Those games are old. Like, they're not new games. So They did nothing but really update the graphics and give you some kind of art and stuff like that. But I don't mean to downplay what they did when they remastered them, but the core of the game is the same as it was 25 years ago, or longer. But Sea of Stars is very much like an old school JRPG in a lot of ways, and I don't know if every game would sell like this, but the fact that it was on Game Pass and PS Plus, and I think even it was being repped by Nintendo in a lot of their press conferences, and then on top of all that, they sold 250,000 copies. That's amazing. These guys are probably over the moon right now.
Yeah, dude.
And I can't wait to see what they do next, because this is kind of what I was hoping Yacht Club would kind of become, but they just quit after freaking Shovel Knight. And I know that they supposedly have this other game in Mina the Wanderer or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows when the hell that game's going to come out. And the Messenger people really liked, and now they really like the Sea of Stars game. So good for them. I'm really stoked on them for sure.
Yeah, I think it's really a cool news point. And you know, when they agree and they sign up for these studios, these developers or publishers or whoever the hell is involved, when they say, yeah, here, put my game for free for all the existing members, you know, that the company, while they're taking some money from Sony or Microsoft or whatever for that, people like you, Jake, who maybe otherwise would have purchased the game, didn't pay a thing for it, you know? So they lose a lot of potential buyers that way. But if they believe in their title and people talk about how good it is, then the folks who aren't members of those programs are like, well, fuck, I'm just going to go buy it, you know? But
I think the neat thing about Sabotage, though, in this particular game is that might have been true. They might have sold more copies, but would they have sold enough to make up for getting paid by PlayStation and Microsoft?
No way.
No fucking way.
Yeah, no way.
So they really ran the table with this game.
Yeah.
And I wonder if other developers are going to try to kind of copy the strategy. I have to imagine that there was some way that they were able to like fit a clause into their contract with either Microsoft or PlayStation that said that they could be on both services, because it seems unlikely that Microsoft would give some money to Sabotage just to let them also put it on PlayStation. That seems kind of bizarre to me, but who knows? Maybe it's not.
Everybody loved the game, dude. That's just it. Everyone really liked this game. They made it fire, dude. All right, well, we got a few more news points, and then we will be done and out of your hair. A game that came and seemingly doesn't get talked about that often now, Jake, is Diablo 4. I haven't heard a thing about Diablo 4 in a while, but they released that expansion, or the season, sorry. They did the season, and Blizzard has kind of seemingly made it apparent that they do have plans to release a meaty expansion DLC on a yearly basis for this game. And I don't know how you feel about this. I not being an early adopter, I just feel like I'm already lost. I feel like someone fired the go, the race starts, and Oakman was like, you know, had the earbuds in, was listening to like a song and missed the thing. And I'm looking down the track and I'm already getting lapped. And it's like, why even start this race now? Like, why even get involved? Because I'm not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would still be fun for you to play. Mm-hmm. But if you wait too long, like if you wait a couple years, let's say, I think that you do run the risk of there being a Destiny-like situation where they start sunsetting content and you no longer have the main quest line, which I hope they don't do that. But I don't know. I more content doesn't necessarily mean that what's there is bad.
Yeah, and it seems like it'll be paid content too. Like DLC sounds like it's going to be paid content.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
So I don't know. Have you jumped back into Diablo 4 at all?
No, I got too much other stuff to play. I could see myself going back to it at some point.
So you haven't beaten it?
I beat it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just haven't played any of the DLC or anything.
Okay.
Like, cause there was a first season update already and all that, and I didn't dick in with any of that.
Okay. All right. Well, happily moving along is Annapurna. Has another division called Annapurna Animation, and they're going to be adapting an animated movie for their game Stray. This won't be the first animated movie by Annapurna Animation. They previously released a movie titled Nimona, Nimona, which people seem to really enjoy. And if you're interested in what Annapurna Animation can do, and you're a Netflix subscriber, you can watch Nimona there. That movie released in June of 2023, so just recently. And it's critically well received, and it's based on some kind of science fantasy graphic novel. It looks cool, and I hadn't heard anything about it, but Annapurna Animation is going to be giving the same treatment to the video game Stray. So I don't know how that works as a video game, as an animation, a movie, but I thought that was interesting.
It could be very much like a Wall-E type scenario, where you've got a main character that isn't necessarily voiced, but you've got a companion that is, and like all of the, I don't even call them interactive characters are, but I could see this being a cute little movie, but it's kind of a sad story, so I don't know how exciting it will be to watch, but I hope that it's I might check it out. I'm not really a big movie person, but I really enjoyed Stray. I thought it was a nice breath of fresh air. Their attention to detail with the way that the cat moved and how it acted and everything was just really cool.
It was a really cool game.
I'm interested to see how that translates to the screen.
It had a very, very PS4 indie feel to it, that game. I really missed that with the PlayStation, universe. But it's not going to be... Well, they haven't clarified, but that Nimona or however you pronounce it is very much looks like a cartoon. It doesn't look like, computer animation or like, digital rendering and stuff. So it would be interesting to see how they adapt it. But I think that's kind of a cool little point. And then the last news point for today's show, or this week's show, rather, is for anyone interested or who was interested in THQ Nordic's reboot of Alone in the Dark. You're going to have to wait a little longer because the studio intentionally dodged October 2023 because of all the shit coming out. And they pushed their game release date back to January of 2024. Alan Wake pushed out too because they didn't want to deal with the fucking shit, which I believe, people were, I think, coming off the heels of STARFIELD coming out just now, and then the Spider-Man. When does Spider-Man 2 release? October 21st or something like that. Yeah. So this is just business.
October's going to be a problem, I think.
Well, I think I can appreciate
20th.
These developers and publishers for making a point. I mean, they're not doing it for us, but they know, and it shows a little bit of wherewithal and a little bit of, I don't know.
Well, and to be fair, I'm pretty sure that the Alone in the Dark developer literally said, honestly, in their press release that they were doing it to avoid all of these games in October.
They did, yeah.
And that it would allow everybody to have the time to play those games and give their game a little bit more of a chance come January. Mm-hmm. So that's I like the honesty, and it's good for them. I think that it's the right decision because this is one of those games that would get buried so fast. Nobody's going to play it over freaking Alan Wake.
No.
Nobody's going to play it over Spider-Man.
Nope.
Nobody's going to play it over
Starfield, Baldur's Gate, all these games that people are sucked into.
Whatever. You name it. There's like 1,000,001 games, AAA games that are coming out in the September, October, November area.
Yeah.
And a game like this, if it was sitting on its own, might become like a little darling. You know what I mean? But wrestling with those other games is probably impossible.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that like you said, man, it just makes sense to do this. You know what I mean? Like, and they're not doing it for us. They are, but they're not. But at the same time, you know, they want to sell the game. They want to give their game that they put all this time into the best shot it can get. So it's you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. So, you know, everybody can enjoy this instead of bemoan the fact that it got pushed out. Well, Jake, like almost every episode of PS This Is Awesome, we talk briefly about new games releasing this week. Some of these will already be out by the time you're hearing this. And actually, all of them will be out by the time you hear this. We're recording this on a Sunday. It will air on Wednesday for the non-patrons. For the patrons, they will get it Monday morning. And games that are coming out this week that hit the PSN or came out, whatever, recently. September 5th, we got Chants of Sinar on PS4. Monochrome Mobius Rights and Wrongs Forgotten on PS5 and PS4. Tap Pump on PS4. I don't like that. It's all one word. I don't like that. Totally Accurate Battle Simulator on PS4. September 6th, Baldur's Gate 3 came out on PS5. Enchanted Portals came out on PS5. Escape from Terror City on PS5 and PS4. And No Son of Mine on PS5. September 7th, A Robot Named Fight. That's actually a cool name. PS4. Alchemy Garden on PS4. Autobahn Police Simulator 3 Off-Road PS5, PS4. That paints a picture for you. Funtasia PS5, PS4, Lempo on PS5, River Pirates on PS4, Strike Force 3 on PS5 and PS4, The Many Pieces of Mr. Coup on PS5 and PS4, Toss on PS5, Warstride Challenges on PS5, September 8th, Anonymous Code PS4, and NBA 2K24 on PS5 and PS4. I think the takeaway on this is clearly above all of the
many
ones.
Pieces of Mr. Coup.
Tap Pump. No, man, it's got to be Baldur's Gate 3, dude. So that's the obvious pick there. Everyone's saying it's a masterclass in what it is. You know, we didn't really dive too much into Baldur's Gate 3 discussion. I don't have it, Jake. You don't have it. My brother's playing it. A lot of reviewers and people. There's some discourse in the gaming world. Some developers have made statements that, like, you know, gamers shouldn't expect this kind of a game from everybody, which kind of set the world on fire when people are making statements like that. Because, like, why the fuck can't we expect this? If they can do it, everyone can do it. You know what I mean? But we all know that's not 100% true. But there's a little bit of teeth to that. But yeah, so that game apparently is going to be, inarguably, it seems, based on the vibe and all the shit people are saying about Baldur's Gate 3 is like that. My brother told him it's going to take him 15 years to beat. Like he's so that's a turn off for me immediately. But I also kind of like the idea of getting lost in a game like that. I'm also worried about the difficulty level of it. I hear that it's not easy. So I don't know. There's some pros and cons. Like people are saying this is one of those games that you're gonna look back at and be like, man, that thing was fucking a masterpiece, you know. And they're saying it now, so I don't know, man. I definitely got to get my claws dirty, man, and get that game. But Baldur's Gate 3, I think, is a takeaway here on the new game list for this week. Jake, do you have anything that you want to say to our listeners before we stop for the day? Do you want to close things out, or do you have something on your mind you want to get off your chest real quick?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I want to play more Starfield. Starfield's one of those games where, like, you have to, and I think Baldur's Gate is probably kind of similar, where it really is not conducive to the way that I play video games. I'm very much a short stint gamer. I will sit down and I won't play games for much more than an hour at a time. And because I'm playing before work, or like I'm squeezing some time in the evening while dinner's being made, or like something's going on. And it's one of those games where like you just kind of get started in the first hour. Like if you remember playing Fallout, there would be times where you would spend an hour just walking around town talking to people, freaking reading logs, like all that kind of crap, and you don't actually do anything.
Right.
And then like you finally start in on a quest and you shoot your first thing an hour into your play session. And so it can be a little bit frustrating from that point of view. But yeah, I am interested in that. And I do, dude, the more I look at Baldur's Gate 3, the more I want to play it. But I know I can't. If I can't like divide my attention like that. I can't play that many big games at once or whatever. So that may end up being like a Christmas time kind of game for me. You know, I don't know though.
I'm getting really
There's so many good games.
Dude, I'm getting really stressed out about this because like I 100% want to play Baldur's Gate 3. I also really, really want to play the new Final Fantasy game. I also really, really have to play Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2. There's 4.
So here's what we need to do. All right. Listeners, I need you to go out there and I need you to convince 10,000 of your closest friends to subscribe to Patreon.
Oh, God,
so that Fred and I can quit our jobs and we can literally do nothing but play video games all day and do podcast content.
Dude, I would give so much if this podcast somehow just took off and we had like, dude, it's just a $1 patron. Like what if we had, I don't know, even 1,000 people wouldn't do it, dude. It's only $1,000 a month. We can't.
You would have to have a higher tier because you would have to have like
a $5
literally
tier.
For both of us to survive. You would have to.
But we'd have to figure out how
people
to like give something more back to the patrons. But like,
what we'd have to do, we could do like bonus episodes, or this is like talking about winning the lottery.
Dude, but the problem is we can't.
Stupid, but
yeah, but we can't do bonus episodes now because we don't have the fan base to justify it. Like it's too much.
Just have to be
time.
Just have to be more serious about it.
Dude, I know. I'm gonna quit music. That's the answer. Quit doing music.
I'm just gonna get a divorce.
Jesus Christ. All right, patrons. If we can get 100 patrons by next week, Jake will divorce Sarah. I'm just kidding.
And I'll get rid of all my animals. I have no responsibilities.
I'll quit music, which I've been doing for like 28 years. I'll just stop writing songs and playing. If we can get 100 patrons by the end of next week. I would fucking lose my mind if we had that many, though. And that seems like such dude, that's such an achievable thing for most podcasts, too. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be tough. I mean, we've got a nice show. You know, I feel like we have approachable conversations. Yeah, so if you're a listener, somehow get the meme rolling on us, man. Get the meme train going. $1 from like 10,000 people a month. I'm sure there are 10,000 gamers out there that can give us $1 a month. That's all it would take. It'd be seriously like what's so hard
Even
about
if you
that?
have to steal it,
huh?
Even if you have to steal it,
yeah, right, yeah. But like realistically, I mean, like $1 a month. There are 10,000 gamers out there that spend so much more on apparel in Call of Duty or something that doesn't even help.
One bottle of water at your local gas station costs more than $1 a month.
Yeah, 10,000 people. Give us $1 a month. Not to sound desperate or anything.
Do it.
Do it. It'd be so cool, dude, if we could quit our jobs and do this. Oh my God, it'd be.
I'll be honest with you, like it would be awesome.
I'd be nervous,
but I wonder how long it would take for me to like
actually quit the job.
Do you ever wonder? And then we'll quit because it's getting late and I haven't even had dinner yet. But do you ever wonder if you ever actually got that dream, right? If you would eventually start to maybe hate playing video games. If you were forced to do it all day long, every day as part of your job, and it wasn't just what you did for fun as your hobby and your downtime?
I don't think you would hate it. I think you would look at it differently. I really think because it's kind of like how music is for me now.
Yeah.
I do music every weekend. Like if you guys are playing with me or not, like I'm usually out gigging, and it's like, man, you know, there are some days where I'm just like, God, this is getting a little old. But then I'm like, part of me just has complete appreciation and respect for the hustle. And it's just like, dude, I'm doing this. Like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
I often think about, just with respect to the band, if we were to get approached by someone to be like, hey, we need you to do this like year-long tour. Like, you have to quit your job to do this tour with us. Like, what is the number that I would have to get financially to quit my job to do this for a year?
Yeah.
It would be crazy. I have these freaking conversations with myself all the time. It's like, obviously this shit will never happen, but it's like,
it's fun to think about.
It's a weird mental exercise that's interesting to figure out, like, kind of what your priorities are. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, it's weird when you start mixing the things that you love with income, because it's weird. It's like charging somebody something for art. Not that this is art, but music, it's weird.
I will admit, though, like those couple of shows that we've done where they've paid us like a lot of money compared to what we normally get, I do feel
like you're ripping
more
people off,
obligated and more excited to play better, if that makes any sense. Like you have more incentive to like really rock out and put on a good show. And it's another thing. It's like, oh, you know, it's fun to play, but when you drove an hour to get somewhere and they're barely paying you gas money to get up there and freaking kill yourself for 3 hours, it's less exciting than when you drive to get out there and they're going to pay you enough that you got a little chunk of change when you go home. I mean, it's interesting. But I've always had that. People have that. There's that old adage. It's like, do what you love. You never work a day in your life. I think it's kind of bullshit, if I'm being honest. But like I wonder, you know, I think that there are certain people that if you did that, you just wouldn't love it anymore. Yeah. Or you would think about it differently, like you say. Like, it's interesting.
I think it's impossible not to approach things differently, the things that you love. Because with music, like I said, man, like for me, like when I'm there and I'm playing and the gear's set up and the drive's done and I got a free meal and I know I'm getting paid and there's an audience and they're enjoying themselves, that's when I'm back in the pocket and I'm like, I'm happy I'm doing this. It's preparing, you know, it's like either getting out of work early to go do it, or it's like all the texts with you guys, like being like, okay, what time do we got to be there? You know, what's the set? Troy's always like, what set list are we doing? I don't have a fucking set list. I got to come up with a set list, and I'm doing all this shit on my time, and like it's stressful. And then it's like, then you kind of have to give yourself a little perspective and just be like, yo, man, like so many people our age would like to be doing this. You know what I mean? Like going and playing in a band. Like, it's fun, but it is work.
I just wish we had roadies. Imagine how awesome it would be if like we could just show up and play. Yeah.
Well, let's keep working, man. Let's get that second album out.
We'll just have fucking ChatGPT write our set list for us.
Yeah.
And then we'll just like have the roadies set up our shit. Like when we do those shows where we have pro sound and stuff, like it's so much better.
Dude, that Titusville Ironworks show was so fun.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get out of here. I'm fucking hungry.
All right. And then real quick, and we will, speaking of ChatGPT, I've done a little research on how to get your podcast found. So I put the show notes in ChatGPT and told it to write a podcast summary. So as a listener, if you want to look at the podcast summary, it was completely fucking written by ChatGPT to spike the algorithm for our show. I didn't type this. It seems a little campy. It seems a little silly, but it's a fucking experiment. So bear with me. So if you see the synopsis of our show, ChatGPT.
Dude, it's like a fucking synopsis. Holy moly. I'm looking at it right now. It's so long.
But it's good. And like when people search shit, like any of this shit could come up. You know what I mean? It could like show our podcast. So
fuck yeah, dude.
It's a good idea.
YOLO.
Yeah.
I'll use AI all day long if it means we're going to get more listeners.
It's a fucking awesome synopsis. Like, it's better. Like, the thing that I thought was hilarious was the TMNT thing. It says, oh shit, I gotta put a space in there. It says the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are making a grand return with the latest movie, and the last Ronin video game on the horizon. We're in for a shell-tastic revival. Like, it's so fucking good. It's like, I couldn't write that. You know, it's campy and stupid.
It is kind of weird how that particular paragraph is written, but
so be it.
But it sounds decent.
E3 fans, brace yourselves because it looks like the end of an era. Reed Pop, a key collaborator in the organizing events like E3, has officially cut ties with the ESA. And it's like, dude, like, this is awesome. Like, it's so easy.
That's funny.
I am a little concerned about AI, but I will use it to try to get us more listeners who are not bots and very human like J1 is. So that being said, guys, we are going to close things out for today. You guys have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a supporter of our podcast. And if we didn't sound desperate enough, don't forget that you can, like Mike, go and be a $1 patron of our show. So like Baldur's Gate 3, Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, and Beyond Good and Evil. P.S.
Yes.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.